Hey everybody, what's going on? There's a lot of chatter currently surrounding the 2022 NHL Draft, and I think it's time to dive in whether or not Shane Wright should be the unanimous number one pick in this draft class. Now, I posted a video on this channel a few weeks ago saying that Shane Wright will be the number one pick in the 2022 draft for the Montreal Canadiens, and I stand by that video, but I'm just curious because there's been a lot of discourse surrounding that number one selection and players that could potentially be in that spot for the Habs, and I just think a lot of it is white noise, and I don't think you should be paying attention to that chatter. If you really think about it, every year for the number one overall selection, there comes a point in time ahead of the draft that people start discussing, is this player really going to be the number one selection? Even in the years when it was Austin Matthews or Connor McDavid, there was still discourse about that player saying maybe this player can go in the top selection in the draft, or maybe this player can go in that pick. I remember the same discourse around Austin Matthews and Patrick Laine. There were people that suggested that Patrick Laine should go first overall. And I just know that everyone in their right mind knew Austin Matthews was that number one pick, even though people were still discussing this subject matter. Now, with what I just said, it shouldn't exactly be a surprise that there are people trying to talk other players into that top selection range, mainly Logan Cooley and Juraj Slafkovský, who's put on a dominant performance so far this year at the World Championships for Slovakia and did so once again during the Olympics this year as well. The big Slovakian winger has recorded 9 points in 8 games at the World Championships and recorded 7 goals at the Olympics to lead the tournament. And there's a lot of discourse surrounding him, and probably rightfully so. But does he have enough in his tank to really overtake Shane Wright for that number one pick? Personally, I don't believe so. And I think there's a lot of data to back that notion up. The thing about the NHL draft is there are no guarantees even for that top overall selection. You obviously want to get it right, and it's catastrophic if you don't. But Shane Wright should be that number one pick for the Montreal Canadiens. If you look at what they have in their system, that really shouldn't play a factor. But Shane Wright is the perfect number two center for the Montreal Canadiens moving forward. You can make an argument that Slafkovský would be a great fit on the top line for the Habs with Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki. But the number two center position is much more important to the Montreal Canadiens' future than that top line wing position. And I think you build through the middle and you win through the middle. And that's exactly what Shane Wright and Nick Suzuki would provide the Montreal Canadiens, which means it's hard to really look away from that type of potential at the number one overall pick. As the draft continues to move closer and closer, you're going to continue hearing buzz around Cooley and Slafkovský to overtake that number one pick and be that first overall selection for the Montreal Canadiens. Don't buy into that hype. Of course, the Montreal Canadiens brass are doing their due diligence, and they would be stupid not to, but Shane Wright will be that first overall pick for the Montreal Canadiens come July, and I think that's the perfect selection for this team moving forward. That's it for me today from Cook's Corner. As always, subscribe to this channel and comment your thoughts down below if you think that Slafkovský or Cooley have done enough to overtake Shane Wright for that number one overall pick to the Montreal Canadiens. I'm Zach Cook. We'll see you later.